Hey guys, my name is Matsumio, and welcome to our episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Nate, and it is, what do you think about the new Pulse Elite skin? Well, I will admit the first time I laid eyes on it, I wasn't entirely sold on it, and that was probably due in part because of the animation. The animation's really cheesy, it just makes him look really cocky, which I guess suits Pulse really well. I don't like Pulse whatsoever. But then when I actually looked at the uniform itself, it grew on me really quickly. It's simplistic yet unique. I really like the color scheme. I think it's got a lot of detail there. And so for like 99% of the time when he's either against you or he's on your team, I think this is gonna be a really unique, nice skin. One thing I did find to be interesting about all this though, is I believe that this is the first time that Ubisoft has based one of their skins off of a movie. This is in reference to the movie Taxi Driver, and it's not based off of an old, realistic uniform. One thing that has been consistent ever since they started doing these Elite skins is that they've all had a retro feel. They've been based off of World War II uniforms. Thermite's, for example, is an old police uniform, and I figured that trend was going to extend into the future, but this is the first time they've deviated from that. And so does this mean that they're gonna go crazy with it and we're gonna get an IQ bikini skin? I highly doubt it, but it seems like they are starting to stretch their wings and dabble into other references, and I think this is the first time they've gone about that. And so I'm excited to see where all this leads. I know that some people might be a bit worried, but I think this is a solid skin. I'm not 100% sold on the animation itself, but I can live with it knowing that this is going to fund the future development of this game, and that's what's important. It doesn't impact gameplay whatsoever. If I have to look at this guy every once in a while, it's not going to ruin my experience because, as I mentioned, I do think it's solid from a skin and a uniform standpoint. I'll just kind of have to moan and groan a bit when I do see that animation. The next question comes from Tyler, and it is, what do you think about an operator in Rainbow Six Siege that is like Blitz but has the effect of Echo's drone? I was wondering when we would get a new shield operator, and if this guy was done correctly, I could see him being a really power offensive operator. Now, some of you might be thinking, this just sounds like a weaker Blitz. If Blitz is able to blind someone completely, this guy can only disorient, and they can still retaliate. Why would you ever want to play as this shield operator? Well, in my opinion, one of the biggest weaknesses of Blitz right now is that his gadget doesn't have a lot of range. You need to get very close into the enemy's face if you want to be able to blind them, and because he's very slow, that doesn't happen very often. And so a lot of the times, as you progress towards the enemy, either they're just going to flat out run away, they're going to have someone else flank you and take you down from the side, or they're just going to whittle you down by shooting at your limbs. And so more often than not, you're not even able to take advantage of his gadget because of that very minimal range. And so when we move on over to this other shield operator, I would assume that his gadget would have a longer range. Because he can't flat out blind someone, he can only disorient. I think that would be a fair compromise because there would need to be some reason to why you would want to play this guy over Blitz, and that effective range would be one benefit. And so if that was the way that he worked, I could see this actually being very powerful. One way that he would be useful is just getting people out of a room or away from the objective. If you push into a room, notice that someone's in the left-hand corner, disorient him really quickly, you can then call out to your team, hey, let's bum rush him. And well, yeah, that guy who's disoriented can retaliate. If he's really good and really lucky, maybe he can take both of you down, but that's not going to be a simple task. If you've ever been stunned by Echo's drone, you know it can be kind of nauseating. Yes, you can get a lucky headshot, but it's not easy, especially if you're going against multiple targets, and as long as you are working with someone alongside the shield, it should be really effective at getting people off of that objective. And so either that person has to sit there and wait it on out, or they need to run out of the room, which also leaves them vulnerable so that they don't get taken out by some teamwork. The other way that this could be really useful is that it's going to keep people still, which is really important when you're playing as a shield operator. Usually a tactic when you're fighting against someone who's using a shield is to move around a lot. Because they're using a pistol, it's difficult for them to line up that headshot when you are a moving target, and so you're going to want to move it around as much as possible. But the Echo's drone exasperates and gets worse the more you move. Like the drunken effect gets worse and worse the more that you move around, and so this could get people to stand still, leave them exposed to get that headshots. And so I would not be surprised if Ubisoft dabbled with this idea in the future. They may never introduce someone like this because either it just isn't good enough. I mean, in theory, it sounds awesome, it sounds really powerful with some teamwork, but in reality, it may not actually be all that great. I mean, we've talked about in the past how we all thought that Jackal's ability was going to be overpowered, being able to know the exact location of enemy roamers. We thought that was going to be incredible. But when we actually got our hands on it, yes, it's useful, but it's nowhere near as overpowered as a lot of people thought that it was first going to be. That could be the same case with this guy. Or it could just be blatantly overpowered, it could be incredibly frustrating to fight on defense, and that might be a reason why they don't introduce it as well. It's kinda hard to say. The next question is, are you enjoying the new first-person mode for PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds? Absolutely. You may have noticed recently on my channel that I haven't posted a lot of PUBG lately, and that's mainly because I just haven't found as much enjoyment with the game because of that third-person combat. Sure, squads is fun every once in a while with friends. That can get intense, that can get tactical, but when you're playing by yourself, it just turns into everyone camping around the map and there's really no incentive to move, and when you do move, it gets tense. Yes, there is that tension, but I feel like it's the wrong kind of tension. I'm not scared to move out because I'm afraid of a firefight. The only reason I'm terrified to actually move from point A to point B with the third person mode is because I know if anyone's actually taking advantage of third person, which they should, it's part of the game, it's absolutely something that they should use, it's a tool in their arsenal. But I'm terrified that any of those trees out in the distance could have someone hiding behind it. I don't know they're there, but they know I'm there because of their camera angle. They peek out really quickly, blast me in the face, I have literally no time to react, and that gets pretty stale quickly. The game incentivizes you just to camp in a corner the entire time, and I just wasn't really enjoying that kind of gameplay. And so the reason why I'm loving first-person mode, and it has changed the game, like it feels like a completely new game to me, is that everyone's moving around. It's much more engaging. People are actually going for fights now. When I'm running around in the military base, I hear firefights, I'm not scared anymore. Sure, I might get flanked and taken out from the side, but at least it was someone that if I was observant, if I was looking around, I would have noticed that they were there and I could have retaliated. Firefights now feel a lot fair. When I get into a firefight against someone, I don't get frustrated when I die because, oh, they were able to peek around a corner and see me. No, we had the same opportunity. They had the better accuracy. Maybe they got a headshot. They won. Good job, GG. Let's move on to the next round. It is so much more satisfying to me. And so at least for me personally, this recent update has been a night and day difference. I went from being bored of the game, not wanting to play it at all, to now constantly thinking about it and wanting to jump in every single time I have a free moment. And while it's not perfect, it still has its problems. The field of view is still kind of low. It would be better if you don't feel like you're like 2 feet off of the ground. Once they iron out all of those problems, I think this is going to be a phenomenal game mode, and for me, really the only way to play PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. The next question comes from Tyler, and it is, what do you think about being able to place breaching charges on all surfaces? I was surprised by how many questions I got revolving around this idea for today's Sunday Mailbox, and I think it's in reference to a recent post on Reddit. Someone brought up the idea, hey, it'd be really cool if we could place breaching charges on all walls indestructible, and even if we detonate them, it doesn't do anything, it just explodes, but at least give us the option. Now, it doesn't sound like it would be all that useful, but in reality, the guy actually brought up some really good points. If you know that a bandit is on the enemy team and you're trying to get through a reinforced wall, he's trying to juggle and perform the bandit trick, well, throw that EMP, then place a normal breaching charge, or have one of your friends place a breaching charge, and then right next to him, have the thermite place his down, and then the bandit doesn't really know where to go anymore. He's probably gonna get baited into doing the first one, thermite jumps on over, he gets his down, and he's good to go. That could actually be really powerful. You could also just simply use this as a distraction. If there's not any breachable walls anywhere around you, but you want to make some noise so that you can flank around and hopefully catch the enemy by surprise, place this on the ground. Yeah, it's not going to cause any destruction, but you blow it up, the enemy hopefully gets distracted by it, and then you can come in for the kill. That's another option. And so from that point of view, I could honestly see this being a cool addition into the game. It wouldn't change things dramatically, but it would give you more options and it would just give the players more control. The only thing I can think of for why they may not want to introduce something like this though, is that it could get a bit confusing for newer players. Right now, the way you know that something is breachable is, well, it shows you that it's breachable. You put your breaching charge up to a wall, it's gonna flat out tell you that that is not a wall that you can breach. And so by doing this, people might be confused. They might think, oh, I can put this now on the wall, I detonate, nothing happens. They get confused, they get frustrated, and that's something that Ubisoft might want to avoid. And so one way they could work around this is either make it an option. They could have an advanced option like they do with gadgets, where if you flip a switch and you turn it on, then you can have that capability and it's off by default. That would be one way. Or they could keep that message up that does tell you that it's unbreachable, but still gives you the option to go through the animation and eventually blow it on up. That would be another way of tackling that problem. And so in general, I think that this is a decent idea. I always like it when players have more options, they have more tools at their disposal to tackle a problem, and this could be a cool way of changing up the game slightly. Do I think that it will actually happen? Probably not, but you never know. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Are you liking the new Pulse skin? Are you really enjoying the new first-person mode for PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds? Let me know down below in the comment section. As always, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.